And you are watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Renette, and I'm Randy Hansen. And World Headline News today. UN says the Syria uprising toll passes 7,500. 13 activists killed helping evacuate British photographer from Syria. And U.S. drafts new UN Security Council measure on Syria. And UN Human Rights Chief calls for ICC probe of Syrian officials. And Romney wins Arizona, narrowly edges Santorum in Michigan. And Obama issues waivers for indefinite detention law. British charity files complaint to UN on CIA Pakistan drone strikes, civilian deaths confirmed. And secret Stratfor email says U.S. has sealed indictment for Assange. And 25 arrested in raids targeting hacker group Anonymous. And Egypt claims arrest of top Al-Qaeda leader. And Egyptian judges step down from NGO trial. And OWS protesters hold a reboot rally in New York. And U.S. Supreme Court hears arguments in corporate abuses case and remains 9 of 911 victims dumped in Pentagon landfill. Virginia Senate approves ultrasound requirement, and Iowa State Senate backs ag-gag bill. And Sheriff Abdul Qados Center for Media Democracy wins IZZY Awards for independent media. GVTV News would like to thank you. Well, we'd like to say that the views that we express might not be the views of NCTV Digital Media Center. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who support your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, Syrian forces have launched a ground attack on embattled city of Homs again after nearly a month-long siege. The neighborhood of Baba Amir reportedly came under heavy shelling overnight before Syrian troops swept in. Latest violence comes as the United Nations now says more than 7,500 people have been killed in the Assad regime crackdown, nearly a year-long uprising. UN Undersecretary General of Political Affairs Lynn Pascoe announced the new death toll figure in comments before the UN Security Council and said the disproportionate use of force and military aggression against civilian population by authorities has driven the largely peaceful opposition forces to resort to armed resistance. While we cannot give exact casualty figures, there are incredible reports the death toll now often exceeds 100 civilians a day, including many women and children. Total killed so far is certainly well above 7,500 people. And, I'm a little crooked here. On Tuesday, British photographer Paul Conroy safely escorted by neighboring Lebanon. 13 of the Conroy's rescuers were reportedly killed in the escape. And the United States has reported drafting an outline for a new UN Security Council measure that would focus on delivering humanitarian aid to Syria. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney spoke about the effort on Tuesday and said, "I think that we need to focus on those actions which have the greatest chance of success, and that includes efforts to organize humanitarian aid. It includes efforts to further isolate and pressure Assad. It includes efforts to assist the Syrian opposition to organize itself, unify, and then continue to work with our allies at the highest levels to examine additional steps that might be taken." At the United Nations, Syrian diplomats walked out of the UN Human Rights Council session on the crisis in Syria in protest of the widespread criticism. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay, said she would back the investigation of Syrian officials by the International Criminal Court. And also said, in the face of unspeakable violations that take place every moment, I remain convinced that referring the situation to Syria to the International Criminal Court will be a step in the right direction. The international community must unite in sending a clear message to the Syrian authorities, and the Security Council must assume its responsibility to protect the population of Syria. And Mitt Romney has claimed victory in Tuesday's Republican primaries in Michigan and Arizona. And Romney won Arizona by a wide margin, but only narrowly edged Rick Santorum to win his native state of Michigan. But I think they split the votes evenly, so it's pretty much of a tie, even though he got more of the popular vote. President Obama has issued a series of waivers that would exempt him from strict adherence to the National Defense Authorization Act, the controversial measure he signed into law that radically expands indefinite detention. The law mandates the military detention of foreigners deemed to be terrorist suspects, but on Tuesday, Obama narrowed the requirements for military detention by excluding any foreigner whose detention would hinder counterterrorism abroad or limit the prisoner's cooperation. Waivers would also cover lawful permanent residents arrested in the United States, as well as anyone arrested by state police instead of federal officers. But despite the waivers, the U.S. government would still be able to transfer foreign suspects to military custody, providing it receives clearance from a 6-member national security team. New evidence has emerged of civilian casualties on the ongoing CIA drone strikes inside Pakistan. Associated Press has confirmed a report by Bureau of Investigative Journalism that 6 civilians I'm trying to get straight here. 6 civilians are killed in one CIA strike inside Waziristan last year. The British charity Reprieve has filed a new case on the UN Human Rights Council based on sworn testimony of 18 relatives of civilians killed in CIA strikes under President Obama. Reprieve filing calls on the council to condemn the drone strikes as illegal human rights violations. And whistleblowing website WikiLeaks has published an internal email from the private intelligence firm Stratfor that suggests the U.S. Justice Department has obtained a sealed indictment against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Email is one of the around 5 million obtained from Stratfor's servers by the hacker group Anonymous. Justice Department has not confirmed the existence of a secret indictment, but have been known to have it convened into a secret grand jury in Virginia to bring charges against Assange. 25 people have been arrested in Europe and South America with allegations of belonging to Anonymous, the online hacker group. Interpol says the alleged hackers are accused of plotting attacks against Colombian government websites and other targets. And Egypt's military government says it has arrested top al-Qaeda operative at the Cairo airport. Saif al-Adel is alleged to have briefly taken the helm of al-Qaeda following the killing of Osama bin Laden. Egyptian officials say al-Adel was detained on a layover flight from Pakistan. Al-Adel is one of the FBI's most wanted list in connection with the 1998 bombing of the U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya. In other news from Egypt, 3 judges overseeing the trial of the 43 NGO workers who pulled out of the case. The workers, included 16 U.S. citizens, are accused of illegally using foreign funds to stir up opposition to Egypt's military government. The U.S. has threatened to withhold billions in aid in response. Judges' withdrawal from the case comes amidst new U.S. and Egyptian officials are nearing an undisclosed agreement to resolve the dispute. And hundreds of people gathered in New York's Union Square Wednesday night for what organizers dubbed a reboot of the Occupy Wall Street movement for social and economic change. Occupy protests have lagged over the past 2 months amid the cold winter weather and series of raid targeting encampments nationwide. Protesters said they hope to rejuvenate the movement with the approaching spring. One of them said, "I'm almost sure that every movement in the history of the world started off, big when it went down, which didn't mean it's over. It only means that it has to be reorganized. That's what we're doing, going into the process now, reorganizing." Margaret Ratner Kunstler said, "I feel that there's a tremendous injustice in society, especially in the criminal justice system, and we have all to make our voices heard because that's the only way we're going to make change." U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments on Tuesday over whether corporations can be sued in U.S. court for human rights abuses committed overseas. The case involves 9 Nigerian activists executed in protesting Royal Dutch Shell. The majority of the court appeared to side against the plaintiffs, with Justice Samuel Alito, saying the case has no connection to the United States whatsoever. The Obama administration filed a brief siding with the plaintiffs, saying it disagreed with the lower court ruling that international law does not recognize corporate liability for foreign abuses. Pentagon has acknowledged that dumped portions of human remains recovered from the site of 9/11 attacks in Washington and Pennsylvania in a landfill after cremation. It is the first time the military has admitted to the practice for the dead for 9/11, following the disclosure last year that the remains of U.S. troops killed in Afghanistan and Iraq were also discarded in a landfill. Virginia Senate has approved an altered version of measure requiring women to obtain an ultrasound before an abortion. The new measure maintains the requirement of an ultrasound but removes the provision that would mandate the insertion of a vaginal probe. The probe requirement set off a national uproar from critics who dubbed it a form of state rape. Iowa State Senate has approved a bill that would punish animal rights activists who go undercover to expose farm animal abuse, backed by Iowa's Agricultural Industry of Ag-Gag bill, would impose fines and prison sentence on anyone who seeks agricultural employment to document the conditions of farm animals. In recent years, undercover videos have revealed shocking conditions at a number of locations have led to plant closures and meat recalls. In a statement, the group Mercy for Animals said lawmakers should be focusing on strengthening Iowa's pathetic animal cruelty laws, not silencing whistleblowers who expose animal abuse or other serious issues involving safety and security of the American food supply. In Democracy Now! Correspondent Sheriff Abdul Qados, along with Center for Media and Democracy, have been named the co-winners of the 4th Annual Izzy Award for Special Achievement in Independent Media. The Izzy Award is named after legendary maverick journalist I.F. Stone, who launched I.F. Stone's Weekly in 1953 and exposed government deception, McCarthyism, and racial bigotry. The Center for Media and Democracy has cited for its exposure on how the corporate-funded American Legislative Exchange Council is shaped pro-corporate legislation across the country. Qados, meanwhile, was honored on his reporting on the Egyptian Revolution. In a statement, the Park Center for Independent Media said, "With breathtaking bravery, Sharif's unflinching on-the-street reporting simultaneously brought us the voices and faces of Egyptians, the drama of the movement, and the big-picture analysis, sometimes while tear gas and live rounds exploded in the background." And that's it for today's world news. And now we'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Oh, and by the way, David Jones of the Monkees died today.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. Jonas in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter. Pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. Grass Valley Police Department on Monday, 8:49 a.m. A caller from 800 block of McKnight Way reported a customer keeps calling and saying he's a police officer and threatening to arrest over a dispute. At 12:56 p.m., a caller from 2400 block of Ridge Road reported a driver going 90 miles per hour who could not be located. 2:50 p.m., caller from 100 block of West McKnight Way reported a man took a video game and fled. The game was recovered. At 6:52 p.m., caller from 200 block of Sutton Way reported a juvenile raging out of control. His situation was mediated. At 8:02 p.m., a caller from Neal Street reported a fight involving 4 men. One threatened to pull a knife, then pulled a club out of a car. No one was located. At 8:29 p.m., a caller from 300 block of Pleasant Street reported drug activity. At 11:12 p.m., a caller from 300 block of Pleasant Street reported a man threatened to kill someone. Second caller reported a person with a tire iron. Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Monday, 8:29 a.m. A caller from Streeter Road reported receiving a pornographic picture on a company-issued cell phone. At 9:31 a.m., a person reported being assaulted Sunday morning on Magnolia Road. 9:50 a.m., a woman from 20,000 block of Clydesdale Road reported theft of batteries and a generator. At 10:22 a.m., a woman from 10,000 block of Betcher Court reported a man damaged downspout of her house by hitting it with his car on purpose twice. At 11:39 a.m., a woman from 10,000 block of Red Dog Road reported a burglary to a vehicle with CDs taken. 11:50 a.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Loma Rica Drive reported a storage shed was broken into and items were taken, including a generator. At 12:09 p.m., a caller from 17,000 block of Eagle Nest Road reported vandalism to a gate by a vehicle. 12:17 p.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Francis Drive reported a burglary of vehicles. The items had been recovered. And 4:06 p.m., a juvenile from Blazing Star Road reported being beaten out by a man, but the report was unfounded. And 5:03 p.m., a woman from 12,000 block of Aurora Close reported a dispute with a neighbor over parking. She said her neighbor had let the air out of her tires in the past. And 5:42 p.m., a caller from Penn Gate and Empire Mine State Park reported 12 juveniles fighting on a trail. Fight Club was not located. At 9:03 p.m., a caller from Noel Lane reported a runaway juvenile. At 9:17 p.m., a caller from Wildflower Lane reported a trespasser. 11:16 p.m., a woman from 17,000 block of Highway 20 reported vandalism. And Tuesday, 1:26 a.m., a caller from Highway 174 reported hearing a woman screaming near Bear River Bridge, and it was quiet when deputies arrived. At 5:44 a.m., a caller from 13,000 block of Torrey Pines Drive reported vehicle burglary with Starbucks cards and a pack of cigarettes taken. At 5:45 a.m., a caller from Rancho Nogada Lane reported a runaway juvenile. At 6:56 a.m., a caller from Gracie Road reported hearing an alarm and seeing a ladder placed against the upstairs window of a residence. The theft couldn't be verified. And that's it for the Police Blotter today. Now I would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News. In local news headlines today, emergency dispatch center nearing completion, and deputy shoots attacking pit bull. A Nevada City man arrested in Condon Park fight. Today's first local story written by Trina Kleist of the Union. It's if some disaster should make it impossible for Grass Valley Police to dispatch officers from the police station downtown, a backup system will be available, and it could be used by other emergency response agencies in western Nevada County. Police Chief John Foster said late Tuesday. A backup dispatch center is expected to be completed by April 28th, Foster told City Council members. In case the main center were ever to become disabled, it's going to serve as our primary answering point for 911 calls, Foster added. Electrical wiring and data lines have been installed upstairs where paramedics use a bunk at Fire Station Number 2 in Sierra College Drive. Foster said the department had been working with the AT&T, Comcast, California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and Nevada County's Office of Emergency Services and General Services to set it up. He also landed a grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to fund the operation. When the remodeling is complete, city dispatchers will use the emergency center once a week to stay sharp using it. Since the 1990s, CAL FIRE has provided a backup system available to the city in its interagency command center on Loma Rica west of town. In 2005, Nevada County purchased a mobile command post for backup also. But those two just weren't meeting our needs. We want a more permanent site, Foster added. The new center also will offer an opportunity for us to also use as a backup source for all 3 centers. That's a pretty good working relationship we're demonstrating with our partners. In other department matters, police have been working with residents to reduce problems in 3 neighborhoods. The work is a result of the department's system of focusing on a few problems every 6 months. Results in the last 3 months of 2011 included: in Condon Park, neighbors had complained of illegal drugs and alcohol use. Brush was cleared in areas where people were known to use drugs. And along South School Street, neighbors had complained of graffiti and disorderly conduct. Police worked with landlords to get rowdy tenants evicted. And Glenbrook Basin has seen an increase in reports of transients, public drunkenness, and panhandling. Officers have worked with merchants to address these concerns. The updates were part of a report to council and activities by the department in the last 3 months of 2011. To read the entire report, you can go to the union, in fact, and find out through them, or you can go to probably the Grass Valley website, or Nevada County website for the city. Carson City Sheriff deputy shot a pit bull to death after bit him while he was arresting its owner, who wanted for 2 Nevada County warrants. Deputy had pulled over a car February 24th, seen 2 children bouncing in the back seat, allegedly not in car seats or wearing seat belts. Records check on the driver, Asaya Rose Padone, 30 of Carson City, revealed 2 arrest warrants. During the arrest, Padone allegedly started screaming and fighting with the deputy. Her 2 pit bulls allegedly then jumped out of the car, ran towards the deputy, with one biting the deputy on the back of the leg. Investigating officers said the deputy then hit the dog. As the dog circled back, the deputy then shot it, hitting near the hip. The other dog was not injured. Padone was taken into custody, as was a male passenger who had a traffic warrant. A 19-year-old Nevada City man remains in custody in county jail after he allegedly involved in a fight at Grass Valley's Condon Park. Grass Valley police officers responded to a report of a large group of juveniles in the fight around noon Monday, said Captain Rex Marks. They arrived to find several witnesses who reported that Nicholas William Reyes had been involved in a pushing and spitting match with a 17-year-old boy and then struck the victim in the face with an axe handle. Alcohol was allegedly being consumed, Marks added. The victim was located at his home and had facial injuries, including a possible broken nose. He was transported to the hospital. Reyes was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon and remains in custody in lieu of a $25,000 bail. And that's it for local news today. Now we'd like to thank the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, and others for the sourcing of our news, and especially you for watching. You can watch this broadcast on Comcast Cable, NCTV Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, Suddenlink 16, and Truckee and Alta Sierra. Oh, by the way, Wayne's World, it's snowing. It's terrible outside, so just so you know. We also are streamed on the internet at NCTV's Digital Media Center, NevadaCountyTV.org and GVTV.org. And don't forget, Grass Valley Television that plays 24/7 on the net, GrassValleyTelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, Blip.tv, and many other sites, and have RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under video podcast for GVTV News. This content is controlled by the producer of this newscast, me, and Grass Valley Television, and is not necessarily the opinion of NCTV Digital Media Center or Grass Valley Television or me. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events, so if you want any information about us, you can always contact us, grassvalleytelevision.com at 362-8889. This show produced by Grass Valley Television of Rural Counties Television Network. And that's it for today. We should be talking to you tomorrow. It should be Friday. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Like desserts? They got them. You like international style lunches? They got them. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. Star's shop is a one-of-a-kind place you will find on the ridge. Steaming hot coffee and a cool atmosphere with healthy food, organic desserts, and meals available. Belle and her smile will not be forgotten the first time you visit.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drew Pearson. We bring you this special radio television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon, the arrival of a spaceship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I think something is happening.
Major, I have come to see the future. Major,